Mara paid $40,000 to save her fiancé's life. He was never in danger. Her best friend paid it with her. Only one of them knew that. It started on a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary evening nobody remembers until they're forced to. Mara was folding laundry when Devon came in, holding his phone like it was something fragile. The guys want to do a cabin thing before the wedding. No signal, no calls, just us, and a cooler of beer and bad decisions. He laughed, but it was the laugh he used when he wanted her to say yes quickly before she could ask questions. When? This weekend, back Sunday night. She should have thought it was sudden. She didn't. She'd spent 2 years learning not to make Devon's spontaneity a fight. Priya was there when he left. She was almost always there. She stood in the doorway a beat longer than a friend saying goodbye usually does, watching his car pull out of the driveway like she was checking something off a list. "You okay?" Mara asked. "Just tired," Priya said. "Long week." Sunday came and went. No car in the driveway. No text. Mara told herself men lose track of time in places with no signal. She made dinner for one and didn't finish it. Monday morning, the message arrived. No name ahead, a blocked number. "We have Devon. Do not call the police. Do not tell anyone but Priya. $40,000, wired by tonight, or you won't see him again. 48 hours. Mara read it 4 times before her hands started shaking enough that she couldn't hold the phone steady. She called Priya, actually called her, heard 4 rings of pure silence in her own chest before Priya picked up. Priya was at her door in 9 minutes. Mara would think about that number later. 9 minutes for someone who lived 20 away. "How did you get here so fast?" "I was already in the area, grabbing coffee." Priya's voice didn't shake at all. "Show me the message." Mara handed over the phone. Priya read it once, nodded like she was confirming something rather than learning it, and said, "We need to move fast. Do you have that much in savings?" "Some, not all of it." "I'll cover what you're short. We'll figure out paying me back later. Right now, we get him home." That's the part Mara would return to over and over in the weeks after. Priya didn't ask who "we" was supposed to contact, didn't ask if they should call the police anyway, quietly, just to have someone watching. Didn't ask a single question a frightened best friend should have asked. She simply sat down at the kitchen table, opened her banking app, and started typing in a number she seemed to already know by heart. They sat there for 3 hours that night, waiting for confirmation the wire had gone through, Priya's phone face down on the table the entire time. Every so often it would light up at the edges, a notification, a glow under the case, and Priya's hand would drift over, silence it, and go still again. She never once turned it over, never once let Mara see the screen. "You've been so calm this whole time," Mara said. Somewhere around midnight, her voice cracked from crying. "Someone has to be," Priya said. And she reached over and squeezed Mara's hand, and Mara let herself believe that was the whole story, that this was just what a best friend looked like in a crisis. Steady, present, unshaken. The wire went through at 11:47 p.m. $40,000. Hona into an account number shaha arrive in a second anonymous test 20 minutes earlier. Mara didn't sleep. Priya stayed the night on the couch. "So you're not alone," and made coffee in the morning like nothing unusual had happened, like they hadn't just handed a stranger their life savings on the promise of a phone screen. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, nothing. Mara called out of work, sat by the door, checked her phone every 4 minutes. Thursday afternoon, Devon called. Crying, real or real enough. He said he'd escaped, that the men holding him had gotten careless, that he'd run 2 miles through trees before finding a gas station with a working payphone. Like something out of a movie Mara would have questioned if she hadn't been so relieved to hear his voice. She drove to pick him up. He held her in the parking lot like a man who'd nearly died. She believed every second of it. Priya was there too. She'd insisted on coming, in case you need someone to drive. She stood a few feet back while Devon and Mara embraced, and across his shoulder for less than a second, Mara caught her smiling. Small, private. The kind of smile you'd only catch if you happened to be looking at exactly the wrong moment. Mara told herself it was relief. She told herself that for 3 more weeks. It was a Tuesday again, always Tuesdays, she'd think later, when she was looking for a charger and found Priya's phone sitting unlocked on her own kitchen counter. Left behind after a visit, screen still lit from a notification. She picked it up out of habit, not suspicion, meaning only to see whose charger would fit. A name at the top of the Messages app stopped her hand mid-motion. Devon. She shouldn't have opened it. She told herself that even as she was already opening it, weeks of messages. Not affair messages, worse, somehow, in the way they read. Logistics, planning. A message dated the Thursday before the kidnapping text arrived, time-stamped 9:14 p.m. She'll never ask where the money actually goes if you're the one who tells her to send it. Mara sat down on her own kitchen floor and read it again. And again. The phone that never left Priya's hand that night. The one that lit up at the edges while they waited in silence. It hadn't been tracking a kidnapper's location, or checking for updates from worried mutual friends, or doing any of the things Mara had assumed in the fog of that night. It had been waiting for Devon's signal that the money had cleared. What Mara was looking at wasn't a best friend's phone. It was a control room. There's a name for what happened to her, and it isn't really about money, even though the money is what makes it visible. It's called triangulation. When someone inserts a third person into a relationship, not to strengthen it, but to run it from the inside without ever being seen holding the wheel. Devon didn't need Mara to trust him completely. That would have made her suspicious of anything that felt too easy. What he needed was for her to trust someone else completely. Someone calm, someone steady, someone who could hold her hand through a crisis he'd manufactured and make the whole thing feel survivable. Fear does something specific to people. It makes them stop questioning whoever is standing closest, whoever isn't panicking, whoever seems to have a plan. Mara wasn't failed by her own judgment. She was failed by exactly the mechanism designed to disable it. Priya was never the support system in that kitchen. She was the alibi wearing the support system's face, and the signs, looked at afterward, were never subtle. They were just invisible in the moment, the way warning signs always are when the person delivering them is the one you'd normally turn to for warning signs. The 9-minute arrival time, the unasked questions, the phone that never turned over, the exact amount she was able to cover just in case. None of it read as strange while it was happening, because the person doing it had spent years building the kind of trust that makes strange things look ordinary. Mara didn't confront them that night. She didn't scream, didn't throw the phone, didn't do any of the things she imagined doing in the version of this story she used to picture happening to other people. She waited 3 weeks, quietly, methodically, going through bank records she was legally entitled to see as the account holder, cross-referencing wire transfer confirmations, dates, times. She found the second account, the one the $40,000 had actually landed in 3 hours after leaving hers, routed through 2 intermediary accounts before it settled somewhere with Devon's name quietly attached. She found a flight booking, 1 month out, 2 passengers, a one-way fare. The kidnapping had never been a crime committed against a stranger, using Mara and Priya as unwitting rescuers. It had been a crime committed against Mara specifically, funded by Mara specifically, to finance a future that had been designed from the very beginning to not include her. She'd paid to save her fiancé's life, turned out to be almost exactly the amount he needed to start a new one, without her. She didn't confront either of them in person. She sent one email, a single message, sent at 6 a.m. on a Thursday, to Devon, to Priya, and to her bank's fraud investigation department, all on the same thread. Attached. Every message, every timestamp, every wire transfer, every flight confirmation laid out in the exact order. It had all happened, so there would be nothing left to argue about, nothing left to explain away. The account froze 4 days before the flight. Devon and Priya found out the money had never actually left the country, that Mara had flagged it as fraud the same week she'd found the phone, and had simply let them go on believing they'd gotten away with something, until the moment they tried to spend it and couldn't. She paid $40,000 to find out who would actually stay. It turned out neither of them would have. But at least now she knew exactly what that was worth.